Lost Dimension, a game made for the PlayStation Vita and the PS3 in 2015. This game's pretty weird. It's got a strange story. It kind of thrusts you into it and doesn't really give you a whole lot of context from the get-go. I mean, you figure it out pretty much right after the first little bit of the game. Now, you'd expect the opening cutscene to kind of show you what the hell's happening in the game, but it really doesn't. So I'll just go ahead and tell you. So, there's 11 characters in the game, and their mission is to climb this big-ass tower, kind of like the Tenem Negru from Devil May Cry 3, except, you know, not filled with a bunch of scary-ass demons. No, instead it has this dude named, I'm not even joking, The End. His name is The End. And he's threatening to use nukes to pretty much destroy the world. And this tower that you're in is actually like a second world. If you're confused, I don't fucking blame you. Now there's a catch here. Every time you progress up the tower, The End will tell you that there is a traitor in your group. And to get to the next floor, you have to vote one person off to eliminate out of your group. So don't get too used to being around certain characters. It's different every playthrough. Like you will end the game. If you play it 3 times, all 3 playthroughs, I guarantee you there will be at least one person who's different at the end of the game. I'm going to start it off with the characters first. There's 11 main characters that you play as, and there's one bad guy, so 12 characters altogether. The main character of the game is Sho Kasugai. These names are going to be the death of me. Anyway, his gift, which is basically the character's powers that they have, is Vision, which combat-wise is probably the weakest out of the group. But out of combat, Vision allows Sho to basically help him figure out who the hell the traitor for every floor is. So it's definitely the most useful. Yoko Takibana. Oh god. Anyway, she's got telepathy, which in this game means she can buff the team and debuff the enemies. That's basically what her characteristics in combat boils down to. Toya Orbert. Who the hell comes up with these names? He's got the power of magnetism, which also lets him use electricity. And it's really convenient because almost every enemy in the game are robots. In short, he's one of the stronger characters in the game. Himeno Akatsuki. Akatsuki? Oh, shit. Anyway, Himeno's power or gift is pyrokinesis. Obviously means that she can command fire, which pretty much makes her the equivalent of a mage in this game. So she can't really take a whole lot of damage, but she can definitely do a shitload of damage. Zenji Maeda. Yikes. His gift is synchronization, which allows him to basically link up with a character in battle, and then that allows him to use a lot of the same powers that they have. So he's almost like a clone of whatever character he links with, which is pretty cool actually. Sojiro Sakura. Wait a minute. Sojiro Sagara. He has the gift of healing. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. Agito Yuki. I can deal with those kind of names. His gift is teleportation, which, in my opinion, is so goddamn good. He can teleport through enemies. That's just fucking cool. Nagi. Oh god. Shishioka. I'm trying my hardest, I swear. Anyway, she pretty much has kind of the same ability as Agito, except it's levitation instead, which functions Pretty much the same as teleportation, except she floats over the enemies instead of just going right through them. Just as goddamn useful as teleportation. Marco Barbado. Now that's more like it. He has telekinesis. And no, we haven't done telekinesis yet. Think of it kind of like pyrokinesis, except with a little less pyro and a little more tele. Also, he has probably the highest vitality in the game. So think of him like a mage that can take a shitload of damage. Mana Kawaii. I wish I was joking, but her last name is Kawaii. Fucking Kawaii.
Wow, that's so kawaii.
So of course she has to have a gift known as Overdrive, which basically makes her a brute, and she punches the living shit out of everything. Cause that's real cute. Then we got my main man, George Jackman over here. What a hell of a name. He's got psychometry as his gift, which I'm not really 100% sure what the hell it does exactly. It does something that has to do with adding like counters to make all of his skills stronger. Anyways, he's probably the strongest physically in the game. Like, holy hell, he takes down an insane amount of damage. And then we got the bad guy, The End. I'm not joking. His name is The End. I don't know what his real name is, but I couldn't imagine running around with my first name being The and my last name being End. God knows why he would want that name. Anyways, this psychopath is pretty much mad at the world, and he's wanting to blow it up. And he really, really hates the main character's show, which I'm not going to say why. You figure it out if you get the true ending of the game. So, I won't spoil it here. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. It's definitely unique. So, you start out with deploying 5 characters. Show is automatically deployed, so there's 6 characters going into each battle out of the 11 characters you have to choose from. Combat's pretty simple. Characters have certain amount that they can move before they either have to pass their turn, attack, or use a gift or an item or something like that. And once they all wait, then it's the enemy's turn. It's pretty much as simple as that. They can also defer to other characters that have already moved that turn, which means that they give up their turn and allow whatever character they defer to move again. And they also have a gift points and a sanity meter.
Check this out.
Gift is obviously this game's equivalent of a mana bar or technical points, however you really want to put them. Basically, it's how much they can use their gift abilities. Sanity meter is something pretty special in this. If a character runs out of sanity, then they'll go berserk. Now, if a character ends up going berserk, then that means that you won't be able to control that character. They'll attack anything around them, and they will be insanely strong. So it's not too bad, because they'll kind of just kill the shit out of every enemy around them. The only problem is all the other characters are inflicted with fear, which means that they use up more sanity than normal. So you got to kind of use some strategy on if you really do want a character to go berserk to maybe take care of a strong enemy. That might be useful, but it also might be very fucking dangerous. Other than that, combat's pretty goddamn simple. Like they got counterattacks, so if you attack an enemy or you're attacked by an enemy, then you'll counterattack or you'll be counterattacked. If you get attacked from behind or you attack an enemy from behind, then your accuracy increases and you deal more damage. That also applies to an enemy if you end up getting attacked from behind. So you got to be real careful with how you place yourself on the field and where you attack an enemy at. After a battle, Show's vision ability will allow him to see who all the characters that he was fighting with in that battle, how many of them are possible traitors. Now, every floor there's 3 traitors. 2 of them are red herrings, though. The game keeps track of every battle you do and all the voices, the suspicious voices that you hear in that group that you used during the last mission that you did. So you can basically use a process of an elimination to figure out who the 3 candidates are, and then you can use something called vision points, which let you go into something called a deep vision, which pretty much gives away if that person that you're using the vision point on is the traitor or not. And you only have a limited number of vision points that you can use in the game, so you have to be really careful with how you use them. And you have to make sure that you're using it on the right person. So you want to go in there with a group, and you want to make sure that in that group you hear all 3 voices, because that means that in that group you have all 3 of the suspects right there. So all you have to do is just keep alternating out the allies until you end up accidentally removing somebody who had a suspicious voice. Then you want to mark that voice as a suspect. Try to wrap your head around all that. Well, anyway, if you use deep vision on somebody who isn't a traitor, the game will flat out tell you, hey, this person's not the traitor. For that floor, that doesn't mean that later on they won't be a traitor, as the game pretty much shuffles around who's going to be the next traitor for each floor. So it's different every time. Now you can do whatever mission you want as many times you want. There's no real time limit in the game. So basically just keep playing missions until you figure out who the hell the traitors are.
Hey, wait.
Narrow them all down until you're able to figure out who the actual traitor for that floor is. Now, it doesn't really matter if you do end up getting all the traitors, at least in your first playthrough. In the playthrough that you're trying to get the perfect ending, it's probably for the best if you do, just for the hell of it. In your first playthrough, you can't get the best ending, so it doesn't really matter if you get all the traitors or not. But if you do end up missing a traitor and you accidentally kill somebody who's not a traitor on that floor, then the final boss fight will be a hell of a lot harder, because whoever your traitor is that you missed, they will betray you right before the final boss, and you'll have no choice but to kill that character in combat. Then you fight the main bad guy with one less character. So just put it this way. Let's say I killed no traitors during the voting that you do to erase the traitors. So I have a full team of traitors. Right before the final boss fight, I would have to fight as Show. I would have to fight all the traitors, so I would be alone. And even if I end up beating all of them, I would be fucked against the end. So if you do end up getting a traitor, then the game tells you this motherfucker's a traitor.
This is a lie. Right, Mana? So you're the traitor.
Damn right you're the traitor. If you're on a fresh playthrough, then on the first playthrough, no matter what happens, George will always end up being the default traitor for the very first floor. So obviously his ass gets voted off the island no matter what in their first playthrough. In the second playthrough, then George isn't usually the traitor. I mean, I've never actually had George be the traitor during my second playthrough. Yeah, so if you progress to another floor, before you do, you have to enter this judgment room, or whatever the hell the end calls it. And you have to vote somebody off the island. And by somebody off the island, I mean erase the shit out of them.
Did he just disappear?
Now when you erase them, you get whatever character got erased gift, so you can put their gift onto another character.
Where'd he go?
That means that that character that is now equipped with their gift can use certain abilities that that character had while they were, you know, alive. So by the end of the game, when you reach the final floor, you're only going to have a team of 6, including Show. So you got to make sure you hit all the traitors, otherwise you're going to be down a few members for the final boss fight. As you progress through the game, you can also get to know your team members, and that will build up a bond with them. And to get the best ending in the game, you have to have a bond with every character in the game, which is why it's impossible to do in one playthrough. Seeing as how poor George dies pretty much right off the bat, and 2 other characters will be eliminated before the 4th floor, which on the 4th floor is the floor where you can actually do a character's story mission, which is basically a mission that basically cements your bond with that character. So go play the game again, you fuck. Each playthrough is unique because no matter what, you're going to end up with a different final team almost every playthrough. I've played the game at least 4 times, and not once have I ended with the exact same team. When I played it on the PlayStation 3, my final team was Himeno, Toya, Nagi, Sojiro, and Marco. During my second playthrough, it was Toya, Marco, Agito, George, and Mana. Pretty much completely different. Meanwhile, when I played it on the Vita, my final team in the first playthrough was Yoko, Agito, Marco, Zenji, and Mana. And on the second playthrough on the Vita, my final team was Yoko, Agito, Nagi, Sojiro, and George. My man George coming in on them second playthroughs. So obviously you gotta play the game twice to get the best ending, because the camaraderie, as this game calls it, which is basically the bond with your comrades, is carried over onto the second playthrough. So basically on the second playthrough, you better pray that none of the characters that you want to bond with are traitors. Otherwise, you're either going to have to not kill them off and kill off somebody who isn't a traitor, or you're going to have to kill them off and play it a third fucking time. Which can be pretty annoying. I could see why that could be pretty annoying, but I didn't have that problem, so I don't know. I can't really say anything about it. I had some pretty decent luck, because on my second playthrough, in both times I played it, I was able to eliminate all the traitors and get all the camaraderie to max. So I got the best ending. And if you, in the second playthrough, if you do end up eliminating all the traitors, then you'll fight a powered up version of the end. This time he goes by the bitter end. Oh shit. And he's a lot tougher. But it almost doesn't even matter how strong the end or the bitter end gets, because on your second playthrough, Sho will more or less get a skill called Daydream, which is the most broke-ass, busted skill in a turn-based video game ever. You want to know what it does? It skips the entire enemy's turn. You get another turn. Basically, you can beat the bitter end in one turn. Fucking nut. And no, I don't feel like I spoiled anything by saying that the end is the final boss, because going into this, if you don't know that the end is going to be the final boss by the time you reach the final boss, well, you're just insane then, because his name is the fucking End. Now, based off everything that I've said, it may not seem like there's much to this game, and on the surface there isn't, but there is definitely a lot of depth to it. It may seem kind of simple because it's mostly mission based, like you go choose whatever mission you want to do, then you go out and you just play it and you beat it real quick because the game's not too hard. But there is a lot of depth, like there's a lot of ways you can build your characters and make them to where they're just able to decimate the hell out of anything. And there's also pretty in-depth with how you vote people off and the whole traitor mechanic. It's awesome that it's something unique every playthrough. Every time you play it, it shuffles around who all the traitors will be. So basically, don't get overly used to anybody in this game. I mean, all these characters are pretty good, and once you learn about them, then they all have pretty unique quirks and backstories. They're all good characters, and the gameplay's fun. It's kind of like if Fire Emblem was 3D, and it's not a goddamn thing like Fire Emblem. I don't know what it's like. I've never played anything like it. It's weird. It's a great game, though. I've never quite played anything like it before, so if you still happen to own a PlayStation Vita, or if you have a PlayStation 3, I recommend getting it.